So let me describe how a finance apprenticeship will work. So the first thing really is, and this is where we talked about that natural fit between the job and the standard. The job is at the heart of this. This is about becoming really good at the job that you are in. We have to make sure in that bottom right hand corner that it matches the standard, that the funding that we are able to apply to that, which is limited by the apprenticeship rules for each individual standard, is right. And there are, as you would expect with any government regulated scheme, some fairly tight rules on what you can and can't spend the money on, what you can and can't include. But within that, it's crucial that the job is the job that you are going to get brilliant at, that it gives you the opportunities to learn and develop at. That's the focus for the job. The next key thing about it is to remember the endpoint assessment. And Betty's going to say a little bit about perhaps some of the concerns that people often have about endpoint assessment. But it's a really crucial part of it, because it's totally independent from the process so far. There's a really good hard look at the person who's on the program and really validates that they are ready to go as a fully competent person in that occupation. In terms of how you get there, this is another really important thing to understand, is that it's about using the job that you're actually doing as the vehicle to learn and improve and become really good at what you do. It's not somehow totally separate or divorced from your actual job. It's not that you're doing the job for a certain amount of time and then you're doing your apprenticeship. They are intertwined, they are blended together. And one of the key things that brings it all together, and hence the reason for that question in the poll, is the reflective learning journal. Every week, thinking about what is it that I've learned, what have I done differently, what could I do better, what did I really excel at, and link to evidence. So we use the same app. It's a very intuitive app that we use so that you can do your reflective learning journal, but also capture the evidence as you go through your experience of doing those projects for real. What have you learned? You can capture that, and that becomes the basis for your portfolio as well. There's a social learning element to that, so all the stuff we were talking about with Student Zone and the way in which we deliver the online training through cohorts actually is reinforced by the ability to share with your cohort and your peers what you are learning on the job as well. And that is, none of this is easy, right? And that's why we think it's really important that there is someone there who's not from your employers, not your line manager, is someone whose job is to nurture and guide you through the whole apprenticeship so that you fly through endpoint assessment when you get there. And that person is your learning and development coach, a finance expert who knows their way around both the qualification but also the reality of what it's like to work in the job. And it's crucial that they have a relationship with your line manager. I think it's along the way is that we will bring up the line manager. So it's a three-way partnership between your line manager, you, and the learning and development coach. And of course, this is where the professional qualifications sit. It's really important to note that the apprenticeship, as you can kind of see, is not just about the professional qualifications. Yes, they're a very attractive part of it, but it's, the challenge is if you think, oh, this is a way for me to just get my qualification, but I'm not interested in the other stuff, this is probably not right for you. We would recommend you go and just do the qualification, because all this other stuff, it's hugely enriching, hugely rewarding, but it does take time and it does take effort. And of course, there'll be training that you'll get from both the finance function within the civil service, but other broader training, departmental training. All of that can be kind of hoovered up and captured by the apprenticeship process. So all of that stuff contributes to the learning that you are building towards the knowledge, skills, and behaviours that you'll be assessed against in the endpoint assessment and that are specified in the standard. And of course, things like Student Zone or the Avado Learning Campus provide you with that places to go if you want to really push yourself on. Of course, with these apprenticeships, it's not just pass or fail. You can get merit and distinction. So if you really want to shine and go the extra mile, you've got access to these amazing resources. Or if you miss something, or didn't quite understand something, or want to just deepen your knowledge, you have access to this. So this is the finance apprenticeship experience. It's a multi-layered, really rich environment. It may be that classroom learning isn't your style. Maybe you like to learn on your own, or maybe the peer learning is an essential part of it, or maybe it is that one-to-one relationship with your LDC. There should be something in here which will enable you to really turbocharge your learning and your development, and all validated by that independent endpoint assessment. So I meant back to that endpoint assessment. Especially you were saying that there are some, you get some questions about endpoint assessment and what that means.
Yes, I think we do, and I think we don't yet know what the endpoint assessment is going to be for all qualifications, and Paul can probably say something more about ACCA in a minute. But I think this is a fundamental difference between a standard study route and the apprenticeship. And I think it's really important that if you've worked hard all the way through the apprenticeship, as Ben has said, you will sail through it, because it should just be consolidating everything you've learned and providing evidence about it, or it might be, in some instances, just passing one of the final assessments. But it will also make sure that you have actually taken on the learning and studied all the way through, and I think equally that is important. Taking a traditional study route, you can learn how to take an exams, you can learn some technique, you can learn question spotting just to get through the exam, but what the apprenticeship is doing, and through the endpoint assessment, is saying, well, are you actually a good accountant? And it's the good accountants that we really want in government, the people who are really going to add value and can apply their studies back in the workplace. So I think the endpoint assessment is a part of proving that. By going through this, you will then show that you have a much stronger qualification than somebody who maybe has followed a traditional study route. I'm not saying that that they're not equally important to government, but I just think that you will come out as a different person than you would by doing a standard route.
Thank you very much indeed.